Before the college test, Jenny heard from Nancy that Dubai is full of wealthy people, and that luxury cars are everywhere, even in junkyards. Jenny wanted to skip the college test, move abroad, marry into a rich family, and live a golden life. But I told Dad to stop her, and in the end, Jenny couldn't go overseas. Once Jenny got into college, she got jealous when her roommate found a rich boyfriend. She blamed me for not letting her go to Dubai, and pushed me into deep water to drown. My whole family blamed me for keeping them from getting rich. Jenny used my insurance money to live large, start a business with her college friends, and transform into a young entrepreneur. In another life, I'll personally send the family to Dubai. With Jenny's looks, why does she need school? Come with me to Dubai, find a rich husband. College test is too stressful. Nancy said this while touching up her makeup, glancing at Jenny, and then subtly furrowing her brow at me. Even though we're twins, we're fraternal. I've never been as pretty as Jenny and have always been treated differently. Our relatives chimed in as well. Right, the college test is so stressful. Nancy is so capable. It's much more relaxed in Dubai. Grandma Wendy boasted, saying she'd take us in the future, because family comes first when there's something good. Right, Nancy, she said while eagerly pouring water for Nancy. But Nancy just covered the cup with her hand. I joined in, saying that if you marry a billionaire, you don't have to do anything, and you get millions in spending money each month. Nancy, look at me. Before I could finish, Jenny cut in, just take me. Kate's face would scare them off. She giggled, covered her mouth, and stuck out her tongue. Oops, sorry, but you're just ugly. Nancy shot her a glance. All right, get your passport sorted. I'm on a tight schedule. I timely added, but what about the college test coming up? Grandma pinched me hard. She's leaving with Nancy. Why bother with the test? In my past life, I opposed Jenny going abroad with Nancy and skipping the college test. I even called Dad back. After Jenny went to college, she envied her roommate for getting a rich boyfriend and blamed me for holding her back. She then took the chance to get rid of me. Dad also thought that without my interference, Jenny would have been off with Nancy getting rich. They laughed all the way to the bank with my insurance money. Finally, Jenny used my money to live lavishly, reinvent herself, and become an entrepreneur. I was left to rot in the cold sea, unrecognizable. This time, I'll have my revenge. At the dinner table, everyone chatted enthusiastically. I kept my head down, eating and calling on everyone to eat more, especially the pricier dishes. When Grandma saw the bill, she asked, "Why is it so expensive?" I innocently replied, "Grandma, Nancy's making a fortune now. You're not worried about this, are you?" Since deciding to go abroad, Jenny stopped attending her tutoring classes. She constantly complained about how stressful the college test was. "You, go to the tutoring classes for me. If Dad finds out I'm not there, you know the consequences." Jenny's sharp nails left a red mark on my forehead. Since we were young, Jenny has always bossed me around like a servant. She lifted my chin and sneered, "You don't want to go to Dubai with Nancy, do you? I suggest you forget it. Look at yourself. No one would want you even if you paid them. Ugly people should study more." I lowered my head, agreeing meekly, but feeling secretly delighted. Last life, I wanted more study guides, but the family refused, claiming they had no money, yet turned around and enrolled Jenny in special classes. There, I found a cousin's child who visibly sighed in relief seeing me instead. Such hypocrisy. Everyone claimed the college test was bad, but pushed their kids hard to compete and not fall behind. I soaked up as much knowledge as possible, like a sponge. Since Jenny and I looked so different, the teacher soon noticed and privately contacted our parents. After class, as soon as I walked into the house, a glass was hurled at my face. I dodged it, making Jenny angrier. She stormed up and slapped me. "Did you tell them?" she accused, landing more blows on my head before calming down. I kept silent. Defending never worked for me. "Why are you hitting Kate? The teacher's not blind." Dad intervened after Jenny was done, advising me, "Jenny didn't mean it. She's just quick-tempered. You understand, right? There's leftover food in the kitchen. Heat it up and eat. Also, wash the dishes and cut some fruit for Jenny." Jenny rolled her eyes at me and polished my shoes. Mom died in childbirth with me, so I've always felt I owed Dad and Jenny, constantly considering their needs. Silently, I nodded, putting down my backpack. "Why are Jenny's mock exam scores dropping?" Dad asked, reviewing her report card. "The teacher said if this continues, you might drop out of the honors class." He didn't know Jenny was barely holding on to the honors class, relying on extra tutoring to boost her scores. If she dropped out, maybe I could have a shot. But Jenny, with earbuds in, dismissively replied, "I'm going to Dubai with Nancy soon. Does this even matter?" Fed up, she declared that she'd quit school, calling her classmates bumpkins who only obsessed over the college test, ruining her mood. By the way, Dad, step up. Nancy says you can earn tons abroad. Dad perked up. Really? Did Nancy truly say that? Because of a past grudge. Dad had been on bad terms with Nancy, unable to ask her directly, but hearing about money, he couldn't help himself. When I retreated to my room, they were still deeply engrossed in planning their future. Go on, everyone, I'm eagerly waiting. When Grandma heard about Jenny's school plans, she joyfully remarked, see, I told you. What's the use of studying? Nancy didn't finish much either, and she's still doing great. If I hadn't hidden your offer letter back then, would you be where you are now? Stop talking. Dad signaled her to stop. Nancy gazed amusedly at Dad. Yeah, if it wasn't for my brother's idea to hide my offer back then, I wouldn't have this life. Dad awkwardly chuckled. Times were tough then. I had to prioritize. But I'm glad you ended up in Dubai. Now I understood why they hadn't spoken for years. Casually, I asked, and Jenny's tutoring? Dad replied, that's different. Nancy's not my real child. Realizing his slip, he glanced sheepishly at Nancy. Jenny said I could make money if I went with her. She asked Nancy with a smirk that didn't make it to her eyes. Oh yeah, you could. Want to come with us? They surrounded Nancy, bombarding her with questions. I quietly retreated to my room, opening the workbook filled with challenging questions given to me by a top student. Just as I delved into the math problems, Jenny barged in, grabbing my study material and throwing it downstairs. I heard you're improving and aiming for the honors class. You think I'd allow that? Ha, not a chance. She stomped on my papers, leaving dark footprints. I replied, I cheated on all my exams. Don't tell anyone. Jenny smugly shut the door and went out to spread the word. Meanwhile, I stayed in bed and kept studying for the college test. As I was busting my butt cramming for exams, Jenny was living it up with Nancy, eating, playing, and posting on social media. Heard Nancy even introduced Jenny to a rich, handsome guy overseas. They chatted daily using an international messaging app. With dark circles under my eyes and my face pale and lips cracked, I even timed my bathroom breaks. Jenny was posting gorgeous selfies. 18-year-olds look the best with no makeup. I had no clue who in high school looks best without makeup, but my classmates. They look rough, chugging coffee like water, and can nap in a 5-minute break. Jenny even came to our school and took pictures with acne-covered girls, just to make her purity stand out. She came up to me and said, you're probably gonna get ditched, you know that, right? Our whole family is moving to Dubai, except for you. You're as fat as a pig, who'd want you? I was so dizzy from cramming vocabulary, that I didn't catch the rest of her rant. When I got home that night, the first thing I heard was, Neil, the chance at an honors class was given to you by your sister, and you ignore her at school. My dad kicked me in the shin. He said, we were thinking of bringing you to work in Dubai once you graduate, but now we don't see the point. I sneered inside, knowing this was just an excuse to ditch me. I didn't care, but I had to act. Dad, Jenny, don't leave me behind. I'll be good. I'll even stop school tomorrow to come with you. I cried, clinging to my dad's leg. Jenny didn't like what she heard. She didn't delay and moved up the departure. Leaving early meant she wouldn't mess up my college test. Mission accomplished for the day. Just days left before the college test, and I woke up to my room in a mess. Barefoot, I checked the house and found no one. It hit me I checked Jenny's social media. The latest post said, gotta go crazy while you're young. The caption showed her photos and a torn exam ticket. Comments swarmed, saying, don't forget us in Dubai, Jenny. She looked so carefree, of course. It wouldn't have been if the torn ticket wasn't mine. I messaged her asking why she shredded my exam ticket. Jenny replied, doing everyone a favor by cutting down the competition. Then she blocked me, but I was prepared. Knowing her, being sisters for 2 lifetimes, I expected it. Like last time, Jenny adopted a stray cat, but didn't care for it. I took such good care that the kitten got attached to me. She killed the kitten the moment I wasn't looking. So, the ticket at home was a copy. The real one, a friend kept it safe for me. I bet Jenny was too scared to check what she stole. Grandma sent a video in our group chat. Dad, Nancy, and Jenny were walking ahead excitedly taking pictures. Grandma lugging all the bags behind. Sweat dripped down her wrinkled face, but she was thrilled. My son's family is moving to Dubai. Here's a video for all our relatives. Nancy sneaks into a quiet corner, phone out, saying, yeah, I'll be there soon. This time it's all good stuff, for sure. You're ready. She confirmed things and put her sunglasses back on. Told Jenny and Dad to hurry up. Grandma watched till they vanished through security, dreaming of immigrant life. Little did they know, the real nightmare was just starting. In my past life, I had a bigger reason to stop Jenny from going to Dubai. The internet warned that Dubai's scams were more high-end than Myanmar's, but with Nancy there to shield, I couldn't just say it, so I could only try to stop it. In this life, Jenny wouldn't be so lucky on her own this time. The pictures never stopped coming from the moment they landed. Chat notifications went non-stop, almost crashing my phone. Beautiful sail-shaped hotels, a city high on tech, even the air smelled of cash. Lush seafood feasts, the cruise roulette dealers, and Jenny shopping non-stop with a short, chubby guy paying for everything. Jenny tagged me in the group chat. Some people must be preparing to retake their tests already, right? I didn't have the time to reply. Every day was a race against the clock. When Grandma returned, she ignored me. I did all the housework and squeezed in studying. I felt I was at my limit when the college test finally came. All that hard work to be tested right then, turning in my exam, and leaving was when I realized I'd really changed. After turning off group chat notifications, I skimmed through the photos they posted in the last few weeks. The more I scrolled, the sketchier they seemed. Looked like they were low-res stock images. Never saw solo photos of my dad, just landscapes and food. The only real pics or videos were of Jenny's so-called fiancé. In every shot, she casually flashed some brand label. Family filled the chat with messages. Uncle said, "Such a great couple. When's the wedding, Jenny?" My cousin said, "But our teacher said in Dubai, a person can have 4 wives. The first must be local." Jenny, where do you rank? The chat went dead silent. Not even Jenny replied after that comment. Only Grandma stood her ground, claiming Jenny went as the first wife. Based on past life knowledge, I knew e-commerce was the next big entrepreneurship gig. I used the break to start up a no-inventory online shop, using my English skills and pocket change. By the time test scores came out, I'd saved enough for 3 years' tuition. So when Grandma packed my bags and said, "You're 18. I'm no longer obligated to keep you," I was ready. I was out the door and off to college. It wasn't long before she started hunting me down. "Do you think something's happened to your dad? Why's he always asking me for money?" Grandma showed up at my dorm, eyes bloodshot from traveling non-stop. I dragged her to go file a police report banking on her not wanting to cause a scene. "We're going to report it unless you want something serious to happen to them." Grandma snapped back. "None of you want them to have a good life, huh? My poor son and granddaughter." A crowd gathered, her rambling only grew, but college folk didn't indulge her one bit. "If you got something to say, say it. If not, keep it moving. Report it if it's serious." Someone took out a phone, started filming to show what a spiteful old person acts like. I said tearfully that everyone could bear witness it wasn't that I wasn't taking care of her. It was my grandma, who refused to go to the police station. In the end, a male classmate started yelling louder than her, pleading for the grandma to let her students go. Then he crawled dramatically toward her, scaring her into running away. I thanked the onlookers and went back to my dorm, deep in thought. It seemed like it wasn't as simple as it appeared. With Nancy backing up my dad, why were his financial problems still so significant? Not long after, I got a call from the anti-fraud center. They reminded me not to trust international calls or messages, and to report any suspicious activity to the police immediately. They also called my grandma, but she angrily retorted, accusing them of being scammers themselves. "We don't have relatives in Myanmar," she said. "We're going to Dubai." The anti-fraud center insisted that no matter where the call came from, even abroad, we should be cautious. Grandma got so mad that she uninstalled the anti-fraud app and eagerly waited for someone to take her away. And soon enough, she got a message from my dad telling her to pack for Dubai. She excitedly began packing, updating each step on her social media about a dozen times. But when she arrived, she was flabbergasted. It was nothing like the grand cruise she imagined. Just an old, dirty boat. The ship's name was obscured by filth, and the crew was sparse. Worse yet, she didn't have a regular ticket, but was stowed away in a stinky bunk. She returned home in a hurry, claiming my dad had messed up the travel plans. After she didn't board, we lost contact with my dad, but just a couple days later, out of nowhere, he video called me. "Kate, why don't you come to Dubai too? We could all be together," he said, trying hard to look fatherly, but his nervous habits gave him away. "But Dad, I have to go to school," I replied. "School? Who cares about school? Isn't my life more important?" He left the rest unsaid, but looked like he wanted to reach through the screen and throttle me. Realizing his approach was off, he calmed and said, "There are too many college students. You won't make money after graduating. You should come work here. Maybe marry a rich guy, like your sister." He looked at me expectantly, like a hyena eyeing prey. I thought for a moment and changed the subject. "Since you're all leaving, I should stay to take care of Grandma. Heard Ben's free at home. Why not contact him?" He hung up immediately. Later, I saw Ben was going to Dubai on social media. For a long time, Our family existed only in the relatives' stories and photos. Over time, people started questioning why, if they were making such big money, they never came back to visit. Ben's family, in particular, began asking me if I'd been in touch with my dad. I told them I knew nothing, then asked if they didn't trust my grandma's character. I brushed them off while focusing on recruiting for my startup. When Ben requested a massive sum with no clear purpose and started avoiding calls, they panicked and went to confront Grandma. Right in front of them, Grandma called my dad. The noise on his end was chaotic. "We're doing fine here, focusing on big business, so don't bother us needlessly," was all they got before he hung up. When they called Jenny, they just reached a so-called assistant, who said they'd pass on the message. The peace lasted only until we both got summons from the police station. Nancy had returned. They purposefully presented themselves proudly, speaking highly of each other's families, until we heard the police say that our family members were suspected of international fraud. "We've warned you repeatedly about leaving without thinking it through," the officer said, knocking on the table while taking our statements. I pinched myself hard to force tears when I explained I'd wanted to report it earlier, but Grandma hadn't allowed it and even scolded me. The officer's gaze turned gentle, seeing me distressed. "Officer, what happened with Nancy?" I asked. "She's a minor leader of a fraud syndicate." Before the police finished, Lily, my aunt, cried out and lunged for Nancy. "What about my son? What's happened to him?" Grandma also asked anxiously about my dad. The police took us to meet Nancy. She lifted her head, giving a sinister smile. "I know what you want to ask, so I'll just say it. Their organs have probably been fed to wild dogs by now." Grandma banged on the glass desperately, trying to reach Nancy, demanding why. Nancy retaliated passionately, handcuffed, pointing at Grandma. "I'm getting back at you. You ruined my chance at college and my life. The only regret I have is not taking you down with me." Lily stood silent, but Nancy wasn't going to let her off. "You want to know about your son? He's a beast. He raped me back in middle school. Didn't you hear my cries for help? You were just in the living room watching TV. Why did you pretend not to hear?" Grandma muttered softly about looking out for one's own first. "Exactly," Nancy smirked at her. "Using your logic, sending them over did me a favor. Do not provoke victims' families." The police escort stopped the scene. Leaving the station, Grandma still refused to accept it. She kept mumbling about how Jenny would someday come to take her away to live in luxury. But she didn't seem to realize that with Jenny's hatred for the family, how could her daughter fare any better? Taking advantage of my student status, I started a company before graduation and earned my diploma as an outstanding graduate. All my shareholders were people Jenny mingled with previously. I had no issues with them. Who would mind making money? Our company grew, and our trade extended to Dubai. Stepping off the plane onto Dubai soil, it all felt surreal. Finally, through my hard work, I stood in a decent position. A fellow Chinese person greeted us and explained a lot about Dubai. The city's riches belong to a few, the majority scrape by. Most marriages are polygamous, giving women little status, except for our client tonight, an esteemed woman of Dubai. Before dinner, outside the private room, I met someone familiar. It was Jenny. She was cloaked in black, wearing makeup to blend in but looking ridiculous. Seeing me, she called a waiter over with disdain. "How did she get in here? Kick her out now." I thought she had made it big, assuming she was the legendary woman tonight. "I came to negotiate a deal, whoever it is. Business needs to happen." I was ready for humiliation, so I stepped right in. Jenny's face changed instantly upon seeing me enter. Jenny didn't even dare to come in. She just stood at the door, hands down, like waiting for someone. Pretty soon, the main person of interest showed up. Jenny flinched when she saw her, then jogged over, kneeled to clean her shoes, and slowly shuffled into the room on her knees. That legendary woman is named Sarah, a rare female leader in this male-dominated system. After some initial small talk, I got a sense of who they were. Jenny is like a servant in their household. She was brought along today specifically to serve others. Jenny ran around arranging things for everyone, even kneeling to serve dishes to each person, without a word of complaint. Is this the life of luxury Jenny dreaming of? After a full meal, it was time for some casual chat. Sarah asked me, "Are you from a big city?" Honestly, I told her no. I'm just a college student from a small town. I got out of the small town and saw a bigger world through the college test. With a puzzled look, she asked, "College test? What's that?" After I explained, she exclaimed, "Oh my God, you guys actually have something like the college test." In Dubai, the dividing line is amniotic fluid. The son of a mouse is always a mouse. We could never allow them to get higher education. She said this lightly with a smile, and I felt extremely grateful that my country gave me a fair chance. Finally, she clinked glasses with me, sincerely praising, Kate. You're different from fools manipulated by 2 handbags. She glanced meaningfully at Jenny. Jenny stayed silent beside us. Her slightly trembling figure showed her inner unease. When I returned to the hotel to rest, someone knocked on my door. When I opened it, there was Jenny, who just sat on the floor. Kate, please, take Jenny away, she said, lifting her black robe to show arms full of whip and burn scars. Nancy is no human. She sold me to Sarah's family as a uterus. I've already lost 4 babies. Seeing I didn't react, she went on, really, please, Kate, I'm so young. If I go back, I can still retake classes. I don't want to ruin my life here. I turned, poured a glass of wine, and raised it slightly toward her. Jenny breathed a sigh of relief, thinking I agreed and celebrated with her. But actually, I was toasting my past self. Before drowning, I had also clung to her, begging her to take me away. But she walked away without a glance back. Even recently, sometimes I still wake up from nightmares of suffocation. In this life, I don't dare to touch water. Today, the tables finally turned. I watched her, unable to harm me anymore, and finally conquered my inner demons. After finishing my wine and calming the whirlwind of emotions inside, I just quietly watched her. Softly, I said, you got the wrong person, I don't know you. Until the security came to take her away. When Jenny was dragged off, she left a trail of blood behind. Possibly, the 5th baby was gone too. The second time I met Sarah was at her home, where she invited me to see a pet show. Her pets were 2 leopards and a lion. Upon arriving, Jenny was the one serving again. She looked even more haggard, the black robe wrapped around her like a zombie. Get in there, stupid. Go feed my babies. Jenny's feet seemed nailed to the ground, her eyes begging for me to say something on her behalf. I lowered my head to taste the tea, which Sarah had thoughtfully bought from Chinatown. Jenny nervously carried raw meat into the glass house. Perhaps her bloody scent was too strong. The beasts ignored the meat, circling and sniffing her, ready to pounce. When Sarah's husband came back, Jenny thought she found a savior. Help me, dear, she cried. The man said, darling, are you in a hurry? But the darling wasn't her. It was the beasts. Seeing the man, the beasts got even more excited, claws resting on Jenny's shoulder. She could clearly see the hot breath, and feel the prick of the barbed tongue on her face. She was terrified into fainting and got dragged out. Sarah was furious, useless thing, ruining the show. I spoke up, can I check on her? When Jenny woke up, I was handling some work. She arrogantly instructed, get me a glass of water, not too hot, not too cold, not too warm. Then she realized and pointed fearfully at me, why are you still alive? With that one sentence, I knew Jenny was back. Before I could respond, the Filipino maid struck her hard. Thanks to Ms. Kate, the madam arranged this room for you. Who do you think you're talking to? I watched her with crossed arms, a slight smile. Ha, who could she be? She's a nobody. Jenny quickly realized something was off. After working for so many years, I'm no longer a pushover. A splash of cold water on her face brought her to reality. The water washed away her makeup, revealing hollow eyes, sharply protruding cheekbones, and pale lips. She looked malnourished. The mix of perfume and a rancid odor was gag-inducing. She questioned, why are you wearing Chanel? How dare you? She tried to grab my jacket, but was yanked off the bed by the maid pulling her hair. Useless servant, if you're awake, go to work. Do not bother Miss Kate. Jenny screamed, she's Miss Kate, then who am I? I stopped the maid, saying, isn't this the life of Dubai wealth you dreamt of? Yes, this is wealth. I am the lady of this place. How dare you treat me like this? She then arrogantly spoke in English to the maid, but she was dragged to the bathroom to drink toilet water to snap out of it. I saw her head pressed repeatedly into the toilet by the maid. No one understands the feeling of suffocation better than I do. When your lungs feel like they're about to burst in the water, you get pulled up to save a second of air, and then you're pushed down hard again. In minutes, she was unconscious, dragged to a corner like dead weight. Sunlight gently touched my shoulders, but didn't reach her dark corner. When we were preparing to fly back first class on Emirates, an airport alert came over the PA system. There was a suspected terrorist on site. Please stay alert. It turned out someone was hiding in the luggage compartment, and it was Jenny, struggling hard. I am a Chinese citizen. You have no right to detain me, she shouted. The response came swiftly, your ID card. She went silent. She had long cut up her ID in the heady rush of Dubai's fantasy, even posting on social media, bidding farewell to the education system. Seeing us, she acted like she saw a savior, breaking free from the guards and scrambling toward us, clinging to someone's pant leg. It's me. I'm Jenny. Don't you recognize me? Then she crawled on her knees to another person. Don't you recognize me either? Everyone around thought she was crazy, but I knew these were her buddies from a past life. But even now, She didn't get it. The college test was the only system remotely fair, allowing a leap from the grassroots to the mid-tier. Then, the upper tiers selectively absorbing from the mid-tier. 4 years in college were also the only chance to temporarily level the playing field across social classes. Once you step out of school, it's like you're in a whole different world. If you can't hold on to the connections, you might never cross paths with certain people. She kept repeating, "I'm the real businesswoman here. I got into a top college with my test scores." Everyone thought she was just nuts. Seriously, what's fairness got to do with a college test in Dubai? Is it like some last wish of the underclass before they die? As the plane soared into the sky, Jenny was stuck forever in her hell. When I got back home, I took some time to visit Grandma. She'd been harassed by Ben's relatives and had a fall one winter. The fall left her paralyzed on one side, but I generously hired a caregiver for her. Everyone praised my filial piety. Definitely the charm of a company boss, right? I couldn't see how the caregiver took care of her anyway. When I got home today, I found bedsores all over her body. Her blanket was falling apart, with black cotton sticking out. The cotton got into her wounds, making them super itchy and painful. The caregiver awkwardly rubbed her hands and said, "Your grandma's got a big temper. It's not like I'm ignoring her." I nodded, asked her to run out for groceries so I could have a private moment. I dragged a somewhat stable chair over and sat in front of Grandma. The screech of metal across the floor sounded like the beginning of the end for her. "Mom didn't die having me, did she?" "Wait," I said, signaling for silence. "There's something I want to show you." Her eyes went wide as if she wanted to deny it, but also ask how I knew. "Your dear relatives told me. All it took was finding a few jobs for their kids, and they practically spilled everything. So you stopped my dad from going for a C-section, huh? Almost ended up with 2 deaths instead. And everyone just watched me be a fool." Her hand balled up into a fist, like she was gonna hit me. I gently pried her fingers, despite her resistance. Then, I went a bit rougher, and oh no, I accidentally broke her finger. I innocently stuck out my tongue. Just when she was on the verge of passing out from pain, I told her not yet. I've got videos to show her. I held the phone up to her face. Even with a ton of pixelation, it was still obviously bloody. I told her, "See, this is your son's execution video. Have a good look." And as for Jenny, she's everyone's bride now. "You liked grandkids, right? She might give you 2 in 2 years. Exciting, huh?" She finally couldn't breathe and passed out. I waltzed out of the room, feeling a flood of relief. Later on, I stayed single my whole life. I adopted a little girl as my daughter. From a young age, I took her traveling to all sorts of countries. I told her, every place's got its ups and downs, but touching down in first class and sneaky border crossing is 2 complete things. Don't blindly think any place is perfect. As for joining the college test, I left it up to her, but she gave a cheeky smile and said, "Mom, if I don't go, how will I find my own piece of the world?"